I finished Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse not long ago. I'm in Huia Point, and there's the Manukau Heads. And Whatapu Beach is around the corner, over there. Around that corner there's Whatapu Beach, and it's my favourite beach in West Auckland because of the nature of how rugged and how isolated it is. And a number of shipwrecks way back in the day coming through the heads here, due to the nature of bars being all across here, all across there, sandbars and ships getting stuck on sandbars during storms coming into the Manukau harbour. And this is also the air traffic where the airport's over here, and the air traffic takes off usually to the northwest here, or often to the northwest, and then flies off and towards other parts of the world and other parts of the country. And over here you can see Huia proper. See how spectacular, man. Huia, the Huia Dam up there, very end over there. Maybe you can make that out. Down over here is Foster Bay. Let's go over here where you can see it. This is where I used to live in the mid-90s. Foster Bay. On the other side of that hill is a gully down there. I lived down there. So maybe back to where I was before in regards to Ancient Apocalypse, where I was watching it, and I read a really interesting article by Michael Tsarion, the Irish author and researcher, about Graham Hancock, and it blew me away. I will link that article with this video. I think it's really necessary to bring up this information because, as a writer myself, I've done my best to cite wherever I've got my information from, because I'm often writing about real life characters, and I'm bringing those real life characters into my books as a way to give them the credence that they deserve, because they were the ones that had the ideas that I was taking into my books, especially in regards to a fictitious character, antagonist or protagonist in my novels. And I'm working with their information, so I'm giving them an opportunity to come into my books, and I'm writing my books, my books that are non-fiction but also fictitious in the way that the characters supposedly are fictitious, but they're not for me. They're parts of myself I'm writing about, and other parts of reality. But when I'm writing about those individuals, I'm giving the people that I've got the information from a chance to shine in my books, because their information is so prevalent to me and so powerful for me, because it's giving me the keys to not to the kingdom, but the pieces of the puzzle that I needed, that were missing in my own interpretations of history, my own interpretations of the nature of reality. And I was taking that information and I was bringing it into my own work in a way that allows me to extrapolate and also give my imagination the canvas that it needs in order to write the stories that I've written. So I always cite my authors. I always cite my references, not my authors, my references to who I'm writing about and where the information comes from. And Michael Tsarion basically paints a pretty dark picture of Graham Hancock, and shows that he's basically plagiarized much of his work from other great authors, and read on the backs of many great authors of information that he never cites, and he takes it as his own. And it's not all. Also, Hancock is also, according to Tsarion's work, his expose, Hancock also has a drug addiction to marijuana, to cannabis. Also has 3 ghostwriters that he works with as well. And those ghostwriters basically do all the research that he gets for his TV series and for a lot of his work. And with those ghostwriters, what they do basically is they are writing the books for him. And then he comes out and says all that information he's written about is his. He wrote these books, and the thing is, he didn't write these books. So to me, there's a degree of not only dishonesty, and there's no honor in doing that, not telling people that you actually have 3 ghostwriters writing your books for you. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. For me, it's like as an author, as a creator, I've made it quite clear that the actual voices that come through me as a writer I've written 13 books. Every voice that comes through me is my own voice, other levels of existence. I'm channeling other parts of myself from other levels of existence into literature, into books, and that's what I do. I've told people that over and over again in my book trailers, in my videos, in my exposés, in my work, in my blogging, everything. They all know exactly where the information comes from because I'm telling people where it comes from. I'm not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. Yet Hancock's made millions of dollars pumping out a narrative that is not even his. He's just citing information from other authors. And I think that's really important that we understand that nature of the situation we find ourselves in, and people are doing this in this day and age, plagiarizing other people's work. It's really, for me, it's disappointing. And as I watched that TV series, I began to feel as though it was on some level, it was down to perception management. I feel this is a big thing in our day and age. The narratives that we experience and we perceive in regards to the nature of reality, and especially history, there is a degree of perception management. And it's quite obvious to me when you look at the work of people like dark journalist, David Icke, to name two, I can think off the top of my head, even David Dubine, they expose the nature of the perception management of history. Dark journalist's work as an investigative journalist, even though he's a fan of Graham Hancock's, his own work, dark journalist's work around the expose of history and the history, and I think the on the record history most importantly, which is to me has the greatest interest because he's citing particular articles, particular researchers around things that Hancock never refers to, e.g. Atlantis. Edgar Cayce's work. Edgar Cayce's work is phenomenal. There are other people he cites as well, Ignatius Donnelly, which is also mentioned by Michael Tsarion. There are other authors that and researchers that dark journalists cites, and there's so many that he cites around the work around the nature of where Atlantis was. And then we have people peddling out this information around Atlantis being in North Africa and in Mauritania and the desert out there. There's a structure that looks like it, very much like Atlantis. And people saying this could be Atlantis, this could be, everything fits in the puzzle in regards to Atlantis being here. But Cayce's work, this is up for debate, which is the most healthiest thing of all in regards to the nature of history. I feel as though when I look at this information, people peddling the idea of Atlantis being in Mauritania, and I don't think that Jimmy, I can't remember his last name, from the cat from Bright Inside, I'm not sure if he's riding once again on the coattails of somebody else who looked at this information about Mauritania and went to the site themselves, and he's just he's citing their information he already got it from. But David Dubine was talking to someone who actually has been there twice and looked at this particular site, but he's never called it Atlantis. He's just called it a fantastic archaeological mega structure that was potentially terraformed back during the last cycle. During the last ice age, due to the nature of where it was, people could live there probably en masse. Yes, there are definitely some information there that presents itself that's interesting, that could be perceived as being the actual location could have been definitely lived in. I think people had potentially lived there, and it could have been a satellite of the Atlantean continent, but it's not Atlantis. It's not Atlantis. I know that the Cayce work around Atlantis tells us that Atlantis was an enormous continent, and the last part of it was Poseidia, which is in the Caribbean. And that's the reason why Dark Journalist goes into great depth in his documentaries, including Hacking Atlantis on YouTube, which basically explains exactly where Poseidia was due to the Cayce work, and Cayce's work being held under scrutiny, in scrutiny or under scrutiny, and then being proven to be correct. So once again, it comes down to narrative perception and narrative conditioning, and also it comes down to this place where people are pushing certain narratives around ancient traditions and cultures and perceptions of history in a way that, yes, needs to be debated and needs to be, most importantly, cited That's the nature of my work. I always cite my work. I don't come from a place where I hide things from people. I don't plagiarize people's work. I channel a lot of my information and I cite where I got my information from in regards to what I write about, my books. It's so important to do this. You know, when people plagiarize and steal other people's research and knowledge without actually citing where they got the information from in the first place, it's disgraceful. And it's totally disgraceful. And to me, it's repugnant almost that people do this to this day and make millions of dollars doing this. It's the same way for me when I talk about people that prey on the most vulnerable people in the world, who offer them spiritual discourses or spiritual projects or spiritual seminars or consciousness or raising workshops or retreats that cost thousands and thousands of dollars and have become multi-millionaires by having YouTube channels when they could direct you to look at a book for 20 bucks and you could do your work yourself, you know. But they're preying on the most vulnerable people in the world to buy their products for them, because there are people out there that will buy their products. As a consequence of that, on the coattails of other fantastic researchers and fantastic teachers and spiritual leaders, they become insanely rich. To me, this is truly fucked up. But it's the nature of the world we live in. And it has to stop. And it will stop at some point. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te wā. I'll see you again soon.